I was born on a farm in a little town about 3,000 population. The farm was about 5 miles from town, and my mother and dad had 9 children, and they were very supportive. My first introduction to wrestling was when I got to high school. Wrestling gave me an outlet, and I had a great coach in Ray Stone. I just couldn't wrestle Simon Roberts. I was a very aggressive wrestler, and the more action there was, the more points I could score. And Simon was a defensive counter wrestler. And obviously his defense and counter was better than my offense. But if I could have beaten him in high school and college, then I would have been a 4-time high school state champion and a 3-time national champion. I was contacted by 4 colleges: Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Iowa, and Iowa State. When Nichols come up and recruited me, why, he was more specific and said this is what it costs to go to Iowa State in room, board, books, and tuition, and this is what I'll give you. And he put it in writing, and I didn't have any money. I had no money to go to college at all. I don't think I had $1 in my pocket when I went down to Iowa State. So that primarily is why I went to Iowa State. I think Nick's philosophy was to recruit. He was a great recruiter, and I think his philosophy was to go recruit the best wrestlers he could find, throw them in a room, and let them battle it out. The one thing I really enjoyed was watching wrestlers like Terry McCann, Doug Blueball, Shelby Wilson, all Olympic champions. And of course, Danny Hodge was kind of fun to watch wrestle. As far as my highlights, I would say winning the title in my senior year and the outstanding wrestler. Iowa State has had only 4 outstanding wrestlers in the history of the school. And those people were Dan Gable and Cale Sanderson and Tim Krieger and myself. And I don't profess to have their talents, but it's nice to be in that category listed.
Ron was one of the all-time greats at Iowa State. He epitomized the culture and tradition that continues to this day. Congratulations to the Gray family.
I think every college or high school coach is going to tell you that the family, your wife and kids, we have 5 children, they pay a price, because the long hours that you put in coaching and recruiting, and it's kind of tough on them. I met my wife, Marisa, in a swimming pool in Eagle Grove, Iowa. And we kind of got together and dated, and I went off to college after dating her for 3 years, and then I was concentrating on my studies and wrestling for 2 years, and then between my sophomore and junior year, we got married. For some reason, I didn't know if I wanted to stay in Iowa. And I contacted Cliff Keen, who was the wrestling coach at the University of Michigan, and asked him if there were any jobs available. And he called me back and said, yes, there was a job available at Melvindale High School around Detroit. So I took my family and threw them in a car, and away we went. And I taught biology at that school, and ended up developing 4 or 5 state champions. And after that, I moved on. I got a call from Franklin Marshall College, and I went there and visited, liked it. They didn't have any scholarships, but that was okay. It was a college job. And so I moved there and taught there for 5 years. And then I got a call from Kent State University, and moved here because they had 4 scholarships to offer. We struggled when we met the big teams, but we did compete very well in our conference, and I believe we won 9 conference titles and 9 championships. And if I recall right, I think we went 7 years without losing a dual meet in our conference. I think one of the greatest lessons I ever learned in my life from wrestling was not to take shortcuts. and to be responsible for your actions. When I was in high school, there were 3 other neighbor kids, farm boys, that wrestled. One Saturday, the coach called practice, and it happened to fall on the opening day of pheasant hunting. So the 4 of us decided not to go to practice and go hunt pheasants, which we did. The following Monday, after wrestling practice, the coach called us aside and said, "Hey, you guys missed practice Saturday. Why?" We told him that we were all on our way to practice and we had a flat tire, and the tire we didn't have a spare. So he said, "Okay." He said, "I'm going to ask you all one question, and if all of your answers are the same, I'll understand. But if they're different, then you're going to wash the mats for the next 2 weeks." So he spread us out, gave us a paper and pencil, and he simply asked, "Which tire?" I think everyone that has ever been on the mat and had any success, whether they be national champions, Olympic champions, or great coaches or whatever, I think they always inspire and dream of getting into this Hall of Fame. Words are tough to describe how I feel about it. I can only say that unless someone is carving my name and face on Mount Rushmore, why, it just doesn't get any better than this.